I think maybe he can lower the mic, but.
I could try standing.
Okay, Ben, before you start, can I just give some background? We had some question about, we gave you some information about the vocal data, and Jake asked for some follow-up information. I forwarded the email to all of you, and then it's here to provide that information if you have questions.
And there's no new information. I sent some information. I will start by saying that last time I presented on MCAS, we talked some about the vocal, and I think I didn't do a good job of explaining why I find the vocal data questionable. It's a frustrating situation because school climate is so important, and there's some really neat questions on vocal, but it becomes, it's a little perilous to compare one grade to another. They've advised us not to do that. They've even said don't compare one year to another, even if it's the same grade. And comparing one district to another is proving to be not a valid exercise. And I can go into some detail about that. Keep in mind, when I talk about my concerns about using the vocal data in these ways, it's not because school climate isn't important, and it's not because our results weren't good. Our results were lower than some districts, that's true, but I think those of you I've worked with in the past for years would know that I don't tend to shy away from saying if we've got a problem in the district. Math scores, that's a concern. The vocal data, even though we come in lower than the state average, isn't something that worries me especially because of how the vocal is administered. And I'll just skip to the biggest issue with it, which has to do with the fact that it's a voluntary assessment. Right, so in Belchertown, we don't tell people that. We say, oh, time to take the vocal. Everybody takes the vocal. Our participation rate is very high. It's about 93% in Belchertown. In some districts, they don't send that message. They send the message, here's the vocal assessment. You could take it if you want. You don't have to. So it ends up being a self-selected group of students who choose to take it. And I suspect what's going on is that the students who are very positive about their school say, oh, okay, they asked me to take this, I'm going to take this assessment, and you get much higher scores if your participation rate is low. We've seen this a number of times in comparing to other districts. When comparing against, there's the DESE identifies 11 or 12 school districts that are demographically and economically comparable to Belchertown. If you look at the vocal scores for them, Belchertown has the highest participation rate and the lowest overall school climate. On the other end of the spectrum, there's another district, and I'm not going to call it Swampscott. They have the lowest participation rate. Only 37% of their students took the vocal, but they have the highest school climate. So it really comes down to who's taking it. I'm proud that in Belchertown we send the message that this is part of what we do, and we get students to take it. But as you look over the materials that I sent, and I wish I included this caveat when I sent it. As you look over the materials that I sent, I would caution about being concerned that we fall below the state average. Just for reference, for example, in grade 10, 93% of our students took the vocal. Statewide, it's only 56%. I think statewide we're missing a lot of students. I think the ones who say, I don't want to take some test, are more likely to be the disaffected students who have negative opinions of school climate. Having said all that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about vocal. It's an interesting tool. At this point, given the problems with the data and the fact that it's voluntary, I don't think it's appropriate to compare with the state average or with other districts. I do think it can serve a purpose in talking with educators. I think the vocal asks a lot of the right questions and can spark some interesting conversations with educators about high impact teaching strategies and things. It gets at a lot of good stuff. Just the data, when you try to quantify it and compare over the years or between grades, which we definitely shouldn't do, or even between districts, I don't think those comparisons are especially meaningful. That's something that at the last presentation I tried to express but failed. So, yes.
I appreciate you explaining how it should be interpreted, because when I read through it, I was thinking to myself, what's going on?
Right.
And so I appreciate that, and I hope that whoever is looking at the data within the district, that they get the same information, that
Yes.
this is how best to use this data.
Yeah. And some of this is very new. I spent some time this afternoon, and it was only when I really dug into other districts' data that I realized that there's this trend. The fewer of your students you respond, the better your school climate looks. I will say that the DESE had a thing in their write-up of Vocal. They talked about why positive school culture is important. They said it lowers absenteeism. There's a lower suspension rate when school culture is positive, lower dropout rates, higher student achievement. And I was pleased because those are all characteristics of our high school. So the school climate, according to this metric, is not great. But I think reading that, it becomes clear school climate is actually much more positive than this tool is capturing. We do have lower absenteeism than the state average, lower suspension rate, lower dropout rate, higher student achievement. So I think those signs point to a positive school culture. Vocal is interesting, but the fact that some of those metrics come in lower than the state is a sort of statistical anomaly that has to do with it being a voluntary assessment.
Is there any other questions or comments?
Is there a better tool to measure a climate for a school given all the flaws?
Yeah. It's a good question, and I think we've had conversations internally about maybe we need to look at what's out there on the market. Maybe we acquire a tool, because school climate does matter. Whether there's something better, I don't know. In a way, assuming we keep the participation rate high at around 93, I don't think we're going to change how we do things and start encouraging students not to take it. I do think that the DESE goes a little far in saying, don't compare year to year. I think even Vocal, with the flaws that I mentioned, if we're just comparing our 10th grade year after year, granted it's a different cohort, and that's why the DESE says be careful about doing that, I still think we can look at some trends. The Vocal is good for that. Beyond that, I don't know. I'm not sure what's out on the market, but it's an interesting question.
And it's one of our goals, Jake, to apply. I believe it's number 3. We were going to look at the Vocal, look at Sabres to see how we felt this year, and then we were going to talk about pursuing maybe another survey that we could give 3 times a year in-house to see, to do that climate assessment.
And there are, in addition to that, I know it's not something quantifiable or reportable, but my office is at the high school, so I know that they survey the students about school climate, about their feelings about school pretty often, and they get some interesting results, and they share it out among educators. Again, that's not the kind of quantifiable results that we're talking about here, but there are informal check-ins with students to see how they're feeling about school and to elicit any issues that they see or anything they think we could be doing better, at least at the high school. I don't know the other schools because I'm not physically located there, but that is something that I know goes on. So
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for explaining that, putting that all in context. So I'm a little less concerned about sort of a difference from the state average, but more wondering sort of what your thoughts are on some of these questions, such as if I finish my work early, I have an opportunity to do more challenging work.
Yeah.
So Belchertown in 2025, 42% of the time students agreed with that statement. So forgetting about, sort of how the data might be skewed at the state level, where should our students be for things like that?
Yeah, good point. And that's why it bothers me not being able to trust the state data, because that would normally be our benchmark. We'd say, oh, how are we doing on that? Let's look at the statewide trends. We can't do that, but I still think that questions like that, and of all the ones that I highlighted there, that's the one that I was most interested in. We certainly want our students to be challenged. We can have conversations with educators and say, oh, look, this is something interesting. Only this % of students said yes. What do we think is behind that? How do we think, we could improve that? I do think with some of these questions, the wording can be odd. I thought back to my own high school education. I was very fortunate to go to an amazing high school with amazing teachers. I thought I might have answered no to that, because I never finished my work. There was no downtime. They gave me challenging enough exercises that I wasn't left just sitting around. So I don't know if that's going on. I don't know if there's really a lack of challenge. I can tell you that, all the signs through MCAS data suggest that at all levels, students in the 10th grade at the high school are being challenged appropriately. The growth numbers have always been very high. So that makes me feel like maybe there's something else going on. But, I still think it's worth having conversations and saying, well, this is the percentage. How could we improve that? What would the school look like if we did things differently? I think there's some really good conversations to be had around the questions that are asked. Absolutely. That and, these are just the ones where we differ with the state, but there are a lot of other questions that I think are fertile ground for conversation. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. All right. Massachusetts library grants.
Oh, I'm sorry. Cellphone policy. There we go. Who wants to start this? Policy?
I can talk about it. Do we read it? What is our typical process?
So this is not our typical process. Our typical process involves it staying in subcommittee until a final thing comes to us. So that hasn't. We kind of have a rigmarole of different stuff here. So I think talk to us about how we got there and what we're looking to do.
So I think how we got here, the Personnel and Policy Committee met in June with administrators. We got some feedback from them about how they felt about phones, and then let's see how we got here. What else did we do? Again, we discussed it in October, and at that point arranged for me to go meet with faculty, and I got invited by the superintendent to talk about it, given my experience as an assistant principal and my concerns that I brought on May 6th to this committee before I was elected as a school committee member. I asked to be put on the agenda because this was a issue that I was really concerned about. I'd actually reached out to Sean Fortin back in August of 2024 and said, what can we do about this? Because I had read a book that I saw on his desk and I had helped with some interviews. So I guess the process was, I'd been working on it for quite some time, and when I was elected, I volunteered for Personnel and Policy, and we have been working on it by getting feedback from the administrators. And then we did kind of an information session with faculty, and then we did a reading of policy from, it's actually in both places. It's in the Attorney General's Advisory from Massachusetts, and it's in an organization about a bell-to-bell cell phone ban that's included in these packets. But both their policies are really similar because the guidance around this is very similar. And so we read that and we voted to have it at the first reading.
Okay. So I guess, like you said, you've talked to administrators, but we have this policy in this drive with feedback from the administrators?
Yeah, I'm not
sure
what that's about. That was new.
So I was kind of annoyed that didn't come to us from Personnel and Policy with the administrator's thoughts. Like you had said, you talked to administrators several times, but there's ideas in here that didn't come to us from Personnel and Policy.
Well, I think so. In October and November, I'd asked Superintendent Cameron, what do you want to do next? Should you guys draft this first and bring it to us? Do you want us to draft it? And he said, why don't you bring it, read it, Personnel and Policy, and we'll go from there. And that's what we did. Okay.
So it came to here because you asked for it to come here, because you didn't want us to get hung up in subcommittee. But now I feel like it's going to be very difficult for 5 of us to piece this meal together.
I didn't know that we were getting additional feedback from administrators. And I think that the feedback that they gave essentially suggests that we remove the portion that says, here are the kind of consequences for for the behaviors, they should belong in the handbook, and I think we can make an amendment to pull that portion out. Other than that, I think there's some other feedback around should it include information about searches, and I think that kind of feels like a different policy and one that we should definitely get some legal advice on. But yeah, and if I'm missing something, I think that in the policy we read, we kind of specified a storage location, and administrators wanted that language to be looser. But beyond those three issues, I don't think that they're too far apart.
Yeah, so if I can just jump in here. So, yeah, we talked about this, the administrators, Jake spoke with administrators, he spoke with staff, there was a survey that was given out, and then there was some discussion about moving it to full committee, like Jake said, for first read, and then there was some dialogue in between about why are we doing this, why are we not doing it. So I went back to, I asked Jake, I said, if he had a model policy, bring it forward. We got the model policy. And then we as administrators looked at this model policy because we knew this was going to be the first read, and I added in red what we did, but there aren't a lot of big differences. I think what the administrators were concerned about were policing the phones. There was some conversation about in the morning you have to put your phone in the lockbox, and the administrator said, well, what if a student leaves early? Does that mean that student has to go into the classroom, disrupt the classroom, get their phone out of their teacher's homeroom, lockbox, and then leave? Then we had some more communication topic discussions at the elementary. We're not really seeing it too much. So we took this policy actually from another district. It's basically the same. However, it gives I think the administrators want the ownership on students. They don't want to be monitoring phones. Go back to lockers and you put your phone in your locker, and if you need to leave early, go to your locker and you get it. But then we also talked about lock boxes that maybe down the road a principal wants to do lock boxes. So you can see in, I'm just going to find it.
Brian, this is a lot. I'd like to, if it's okay, we could take this back to subcommittee and discuss this. Because I read through some of it, and I know that there's some discussion to be had, and so I'm wondering if that's something that.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I was just going to point out to you in this policy that it gives examples about storage, whether it's lockers, lock boxes. We could talk about that prior. And I did throw in the cell phone and the device searches. That's going through legal as well. Because if we're going to do it and someone takes a picture of someone else, we have a right that we have to investigate. So that has to be part of it. But I don't think there's basically, and we took out the consequences, as Jake mentioned, for discussion. That is just feedback because it was first read. So I just wanted to share that.
So do we want to continue talking about this? Do you want a motion to go back?
Yeah, I would rather go back to subcommittee and for us to come up with, to look at this feedback and then to come up with something that we can bring back for a first read as the draft policy.
Okay, can you motion that?
Yeah, motion to the model phone-free policy, considering the feedback from administrators to go back to subcommittee for a revision of the draft to bring back for a read.
Okay, is there a second? All right, any discussion?
I guess I'm just a bit frustrated with this as a process because it's been so long. This is something that, as a concerned parent, I emailed all of you in February of 2025 about. And I've been working with Superintendent Cameron for a year. And at this point, in October I said, how do you want to do it? Do you as a school. Do you guys want to build it, or do you want us to bring it and give us notes? And so when we voted to have it at a first read, that was all the feedback we knew. And I feel after reading the feedback from administrators, it would be pretty easy for us to incorporate their notes. We remove the consequences and we change the storage. It's really 2 notes. I mean, it looks like a lot, but the stuff about searches doesn't really belong in this language. It would be something we could talk about after. The rest defines, is actually kind of already in our handbook. So I don't know if it's really necessary. And my other concern is we have a lot of work to be done. Like, we have budget season coming up, and we have school consolidations coming up, and I just think our focus should be on those things as they come. And I don't think, at least in my conversations with the parents that I know, I don't think this is a issue that people disagree with. I think this is an issue that parents want help with. So I think that between now and a second reading, we could have an amendment that combines both of these, that the committee could at least hear. And if they decide they don't want to do it, so be it. It doesn't actually change anything, because we won't even have the chance at a personal and policy, we won't even have a meeting between now and then to try to make this change.
So from my take is, this is how we do it. Like, the policy subcommittee makes something. I think that you have a starting point, and then it didn't really get addressed. There's a lot of literature we have here in our packets that are for and against it. And I think we need to do the best we can for the students, which is not the 5 of us arguing about this, but the policy subcommittee giving us something that is a final thing. And that is, you talked about the administrators a lot, so I want to make sure we're getting their feedback into here. And I'm not opposed to the policy. I'm not in support of the policy. I've read all this stuff. I would love to deliberate an actual policy that we have, but I still feel like it's too mumble-jumble put together to do that.
Could we try to have an amendment to discuss in 2 weeks?
So the motion on the table is to send it back to subcommittee. Do you want to amend that motion?
I don't want to amend that motion.
Well, may I say that I don't know if we'd be able to fit in another meeting, but that was my intention, is to be able to go back to use the feedback, incorporate it, and then to bring it back to full committee. That was my intention.
Yeah, I don't want it to go to subcommittee.
I just feel like this is work that we're not going to be able to get done here tonight, but that we can work on it and then bring it back. So.
And I could also hopefully have feedback on the searches. It is in a lot of policies in other districts when I did my research. So I think we can get some guidance on that, around it, whether it should be, whether it shouldn't be. We can figure that out too.
And I feel like Tracy is still doing our policies, right? Like, Desi has to be coming out with something, because I know this is everywhere.
It's going to start in January. We haven't started yet.
Okay. So, I mean, that might be great. We are in January. That might be great to get some feedback on MASC.
Someday.
And what they're doing.
On that, I would agree with Jake. I would rather that the issue of searches not be part of just whether to have the policy or not. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have it, but I think that...
Are you changing from the motion to go back to...
No, I thought we were just in discussion.
Yeah, we are. I just want to make sure I'm on the same page.
In discussion of okay, so if the motion is for it to go back to subcommittee,
yes.
and my intention for that motion is to go back to look at the feedback and then to bring something back for a reading so that we could move forward with the policy. That is my intention of making the motion.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? One opposed, and so 4-1. So this is going back to. All right. All right. Cold Spring school closure.
So in the drive, I don't know, Sean, if you want to put it up there so everybody can see. It's in the drive. It's just called District Reorganization. It's nothing spectacular.
He made it spectacular.
Reorganization.
Yeah.
I don't think we.
Okay, so basically, in the beginning, when we decided that we were going to close Cold Springs, we put together a time frame on Cold Springs. In August to December, we had staff listening sessions. We talked about room assignments. We talked about maintenance projects, and we talked about scheduling. That is all still ongoing. At the listening session at Cold Springs, there were some current concerns or feedback or suggestions about they want the playground that's at Cold Springs to go to Swift River. That was a hot topic. The location of CSS within the building, because there are littler students, about the smaller toilets and the jacket hooks. And then there was some conversation about, are we still eliminating one class per grade? And just so everybody knows, this is feedback from the staff. We were just listening, we compiled it, these are some concerns they have. Scheduling and student services, kindergarten and pre-K, how are we going to do the entrance there? Access to services, now that we were becoming a pre-K to 2, Title I, LLP, sales. There's concern about OT and PT storage and servicing schedule, dismissal, arrival, safety, and traffic flow, lunch and recess for pre-K, and recess procedures and equipment and movement. They wanted to know about seniority and considerations of staffing and roles, potential changes to paraprofessional roles, and parking accommodations for additional staff. Then they were concerned about packing and transition, summer packing. We talked about packing. They suggested possibly ending kindergarten early to allow for packing. Would we consider using storage containers so they can put stuff in them? And then how would equipment be moved between buildings? So part of this, we've had conversation with the union, time frame, packing hours. We were talking about kindergarten closing early and exploring storage options. Nothing has been decided yet.
Is that on the table? Could that be possible? Like kindergarten ends early? I just want to know if it's possible.
Not in my world.
Okay.
So this was Swift River. So we talked about that, going to Swift River, that Cold Springs would be located on Seaside. So that means pre-K and K would be on Seaside, A side would be 1 to 3, and everybody will be mixed in between. Related service providers, OT, PT, ELA, special education, ELL. They talked about the arrival and dismissal, bathroom renovations, playground, and 2 of the special ed teachers from Swift River will come to Chestnut Hill. They wanted to know about the configuration at Swift River, which we talked about. In the process of all this, Jill Pelletier will move over as the early childhood administrator. Magda would be the principal. There'll be no assistant principal. And then class sections reduced to 6.
In first and second, or also in K?
K1, 2. Moving in logisticals. Once again, we have to leave Cold Springs by June 30th. 2025. They wanted to know about their time for packing and all of that. We already had conversations with movers and all of that. We give teachers time to pack their rooms. We'll compensate them for that. We wanted to be clear that they would have a certain amount of hours, but if they weren't able to do it, or for some reason couldn't get it done, the custodians would do it and move it. We have enough space at Swift River for Cold Springs classrooms, which we've talked about for a while. Grade 3 located in the, so this is part of, this got thrown into Swift River, so it's not official, but the thought is that at Chestnut Hill here, the 100 wing will be all 3rd grade. And then there has to be a grade that's split, and then we're figuring all that out. Title I services will remain at Swift River. We're talking about what we're going to do about optimization, all of that. And we said that this is a transition year. We may not get everything done. Anything we decide at the end of this year doesn't mean we're not going to reassess and move forward about classrooms and teachers and staffing. They wanted to make sure communication was a key factor. We talked about step-up days. We already knew about that, visiting days meeting. And we have this ongoing Google Doc that staff is putting feedback in, and we're answering it to make all the decision necessary. We're still determining the office staff and staffing. Specialist schedules, those are under review because we share specialists currently with Chestnut Hill. They go down to Cold Springs, and the specialists at Swift River go to Cold Springs too. We eliminated the generalist that was there last year as one of our cuts, so they don't have a generalist anymore to provide art, music, PE, or library. And they want some collaboration with the middle school, which we know. Grade 4, this is Chestnut Hill. We talked about the specialists moving from Cold Springs to Javis Brook, so that's going to be a scheduling issue. I'll talk about it when I get there. Specialists we want to keep at 0.1 FTE instead of going to 0.8, so that means they're going to have to be shared between buildings. We're reviewing band and chorus. We're reviewing licensure and room assignments and small group. They gave some input on that, which we're taking under advisement. Grade 6 would like to keep the amount of time they have now on ELA and math. They wanted to know about the inclusion rooms. They wanted to know if they were going to teach a single subject like ELA all day, or were they going to do ELA and math. We have a reading program here that's 30 minutes a day for decoding. How would that look at JBISH? And that all falls around decoding group sizes, so we got to keep that in mind. Additional concerns was the licensure, elementary licensure, and DESE. So there's a grace period when you do all this and you apply for new licensure. We talked about the furniture. All furniture is going to be going with pre-K, 3rd grade's coming here, 6th grade's going to JBISH. Events and technology, we talked about that. We talked about Chromebooks. With the IEPs and the calming spaces, they brought that up as a concern and wanted to make sure that we were well aware of it. And then, of course, everybody would like to know the timeline for employment decisions. Their preferred wish list was maintain the current model if possible. Grade 6, we know will be in the same time frame as JBISH currently is now, 6:30 to 2:30. They wanted to know about
8 to 7:30.
Oh, 7:30, I'm sorry, 7:30 to 2:30. They wanted to know if there should be recess for 6th graders, and then the intense reading pullout, which we have currently here for 6th graders, and then there's a different model at JBISH. So,
I have a question.
yes.
And it might be part of the feedback that you got regarding the 6th grade being on a different schedule and shared space. Specifically, I'm thinking about like specials, and I don't think lunch will be too difficult, but some of the shared space for specials
So we are working on
Or
it.
exploratory, I don't know what you call it.
Yeah. We're working on it. There's a possibility that now that 6th grade is going up to JVish, we're going to have to provide more electives / specials at JVish. So we're looking at that too. We're trying to think outside the box. You know, an example, nothing's official, but if we need another specialist, and we already have PE, library, art, and music, maybe we bring in journalism or something for students at JVish. So everything's on the table, but we have enough space for everybody to do everything at JVish.
And then I have another question.
Yes.
Does the closure and the what's going on in the buildings over the summer, how does that impact the summer programming?
So we will have the summer school at the high school. It's usually at Swift River.
And there's no summer programming at Cold Spring. It was at Cold Spring anyway. Okay.
So we are meeting constantly behind the scenes, just so everybody knows about the reorganization needs and making adjustments. We know we have to do some alternatives to toilets and sinks at Swift River. We're aligning the classrooms for programmatic needs. We have been working, and I think Tom and Eric and I believe, I'm not quite sure if it's the capital planning team or whomever, about JVish and the ideas for JVish. There are going to be traffic issues, and it's going to take time to filter those out and see what it turns into, but we know that's going to happen. We're still looking at solutions for that. So my next up is I will be meeting with Cold Springs parents in the coming weeks. I got to set up a date and time. That will be a listening session for them. I'll do the same with grade 3, and then I'll do the same for grade 6. And then certainly anybody else that wanted to attend could attend. And then we will roll out a plan on how things are going to be based on all the feedback, based on what we can and cannot do. So according to the proposal I gave you back in September, we are on schedule. There's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. Your kids might come home and say that the bathroom is closed at Swift River because we're working on one of the bathrooms to lower the toilets or the sinks. We cannot wait until summer to do all this work, but students will have bathrooms, everybody will have access. We have met, as I look at Mr. Ruscio, we have spent a lot of time at Javish Brook with Dr. Fortin around Javish Brook and what it's going to look like, scheduling, block schedules, not block schedules, electives, no electives, studies, no studies, all of that information. So once we have all the information from parents too, we'll take all that information and then we'll make some decisions, and then we'll have to move forward with that. So this is just phase 1. I know that was quick. I know that I told you once before that a lot was about things that, I'll be honest with, I didn't realize I was going to spend a lot of time on the playscape, moving from Cold Springs to Swift River, but it was a lot of time and a lot of discussion which we had to have.
And a lot of money.
And a lot of money. We have to look into how this is all going to take place, but I will provide updates at each meeting.
Could I ask you 2 questions?
Mm-hmm.
You talked about paying teachers from Cold Spring time to pack their classrooms. Is that also going to be given to teachers on A side at Swift?
Yes, it's for everybody that has to move.
Okay. So it's going to go across the board. Yeah. I forgot my other question. Are there other questions?
Oh, just a comment.
And that was, and that is contractual. We have to do that. We talked about that when we were closing the school as well, that we'd have to compensate them for their time.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, it'd be for everybody.
Can you share with the committee the dates for those listening sessions?
No, because I don't have them yet.
Well, when you
Yes,
have
yes,
them. When,
yes.
I didn't
Yes,
mean right now. When
yes.
you have them. So
Yes,
if any
and
of us
feel
want-
free
if
to
any of us want
be part of it. We're not doing a lot of dialogue, we're just listening, taking all the feedback in, and then we'll make the decisions. So I would like to have them done by the end of February, because come March, I want to be able to say this is the plan. So that gives March, April, May, June for us to do step-up day with parents, and all the other stuff will hopefully, some of the stuff will be done already in the background, so we're not worrying about, when are the bathrooms going to be done? When are,
How long do you think packing is going to take? Do you have any sense of that?
I just don't want to say too much because it's in negotiations
Okay.
about the days and stuff, so.
That's fair. Okay.
If you've been teaching for 30 plus years, it's probably going to take you a little bit longer than a first year teacher.
I just was looking at that. You said that we have to vacate by June 30th.
I mean, you can't have any more snow days.
So, and just great point, Ruby. But there's going to be a cutoff day, so everybody might have to be packed by June 20th, and then the movers have 10 days to move everything.
Like you mentioned, like, is it possible to get like a storage pod or something where, so those 30 plus year teachers can pack up the
Yes.
things they haven't used for 25 years
Yes.
and start moving them out there or something?
Yes.
So
I think we have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a lot easier than it sounds.
Man, I remember moving to preschool.
How many snow days have we had? Have we had one?
One.
Okay.
One.
So
Okay.
no
Just
more.
checking.
1 and a fifth.
4 follow-up questions.
Can I say anything you want?
So that for a parent who has a student who receives Title I services at Swift River, if their third grader goes to Chestnut, and I kind of saw that, I'd be concerned that I might be losing a service. Is there a plan so that that student continues to get what they need?
We will not have Title I services here.
So they will lose it.
They would lose their Title I service.
Can
That
you-
doesn't mean we can't provide some kind of support, but they will not have Title I service.
Title I's a regular ed intervention.
Can you
So-
explain that in layman's terms?
Oh yeah,
for
sorry.
me?
You want to do it? Or?
Title I is reading support services. For right now, we only do it at Swift River. It's a federally funded programming. It's included in some of the grants that we apply for every year. So it's
Based on your low needs.
it's based on the low income status of schools or grade levels, and typically Swift River ends up being our lowest percentage, or highest percentage of low income, and so that's where we focus our early intervention for reading. It does not currently exist at Chestnut Hill. There is a reading interventionist here, so we wouldn't lose reading services, we would lose Title I services. Those third graders would no longer get it, but our kindergarten students would now have access to it.
And to Jake's point, that doesn't mean that the reading specialist here can't pick that up, but that's something we got to talk about.
I mean, caseload-wise, is that a reasonable thing
I
to
have
think that they can handle, or
I don't.
are we?
I mean, they're losing a grade and getting a grade, so
We'll have to
theoretically.
figure all that out, and it changes every year.
The other thing you talked about was
I'm
reducing
sorry,
some. Oh,
hold
sorry.
on. You said reading specialists.
Huh.
The services that the third graders would be getting when they come here, are we talking about intervention, or are we talking about specialists? Are we talking about special ed services, or are we talking about?
It's all regular
We're talking
ed.
about tier 2 services,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so there's a reading interventionist here.
Yes.
Gotcha.
You were talking about reducing someone from a full to a 0.8. Can you just talk about what that meant for someone watching?
Yeah, sure. So, like our specialist educators, PE, art, we've eliminated so many classes over the years that they don't have that many sections to teach. So that's why they were based at Swift River and Chestnut Hill. But now that we're taking another class away, that's going to free them up. So that means that they have room in their schedule to go to JBISH and provide a service.
So
we
they're still
don't-
gonna stay full-time.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is our goal, because you don't want to, because you're never going to find the people. You don't want to say, okay, you're reduced to 0.8, and then I'm going to hire a 0.2 for JBISH.
Meaning you get 80% of your salary,
Yeah.
and you can hire someone for
Yeah,
20% of
you're
their
not
salary.
going to find the people to do it. So We have a commitment to keep our staff, our specialists. We believe it's going to work. We're thinking outside the box. So it's not that I don't want to answer your questions. There's just a lot on the table with that.
I'm reminding myself of over the summer we said we wanted to make sure that some of the terms we use are like publicly accessible. And I think that one's a tricky one. I just have two other questions. You said there might be an increase in size in the decoding group, and do you have a sense of like, does that mean some kids will not be able to get it that would have otherwise qualified in the past?
No, because that's special education.
Okay, this decoding group is a special ed service, so they have to get it by law.
Yeah.
And so I guess baked into that one was, there was something about calming spaces in IEP space.
So there's a new regulation coming out from DESE about timeout rooms.
Yeah, can't do it.
Well, you can do them, but if the kid says, I want to get out, and they're deregulated, you have to let them out. So that means if they leave the timeout room and they go terrorize the school, you have to let them out, and then you have to do other means.
So it's not that there's going to be fewer IEP classrooms, it's that this will impact what we used to be called timeout rooms.
Correct.
Okay.
So that just for people in the audience, the new rule is that before you could used to have a timeout room with a door, there has to have glass on it, you can pull, look in, make sure they're safe. New regulation says that once the kid says, let me out, you have to let them out. And then, and I will say it publicly, and it is what it is, but that means there's going to be more physical restraints. I'm not quite sure what the DESE was thinking, but it will be interesting.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Anything else? So once I hear from parents, I'll do the same thing. And then I will certainly propose everything to you before it goes out in the community.
Is there anything you need from us as this process is going?
Just feedback, and know that everything you're saying we're taking in, and we're trying to make those decisions so we don't have the problem. But there's so many moving targets that we don't want to say one thing and then change it 2 weeks later on that. So just some patience. Not that you don't have patience, but I think about, we made it through COVID. We had to come up with teaching online within a month. I think that's a little bit harder than closing a school, but I am confident that we are going to do it.
So the question I had, rising kindergartners, I don't even know when kindergarten registration starts. I think it's soon. Like, will there be an opportunity for their voices, or will they just be told?
Yes. No, we're going to invite them to the Cold Springs with pre-K and K, and any individuals that believe, they're going to be attending Cold Springs.
Okay.
Or
well,
Swiffer.
not. Well, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much for that. All right. Now, coordinated family and community engagement grant.
So this is a annual grant that Cold Springs School gets in collaboration with the Collaborative for Educational Services, early childhood family, something or other group that they have. It's $200. The pre-K uses it to send home summer packets for students to continue working with STEM and other fun stuff to do over the summer. Again, we've gotten it every year for the past several years, and we are just trying to be more conscious of bringing all of these to your attention before we sign on dotted lines.
Excellent. And so you are looking for us to approve this grant?
Please.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept the CFCE grant for Cold Spring School.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. All right, Massachusetts Library Grant.
Hooray! 1 year after you accepted $4,000 to purchase takeaway audiobooks in different languages, Lisa Renault and Jenny Kate Marble came and talked to you about that project. The money was then frozen. It has thawed, and we have received a check for $4,000 from the Massachusetts Library. So before we spend it officially, we'd love to have you reapprove the acceptance of these funds. Then we'll buy the
It
books.
was such a great thing when we
It's
heard
so
about it the
cool.
first time.
And then once we do it, we'll have them come back and tell you all about it. So.
All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the FOD Massachusetts Library Grant.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Yay.
All right, budget development.
So just an update, we continue to work on the FY '27 budget. We are about 85% done. We are meeting, let's say Tuesday, we are meeting Thursday to finalize some discussions. I'm not sure how you want me to proceed to present, when you want me to present to the committee. I did get an email from Steve today asking if we had any numbers yet, but that's all I'm saying.
Would that be ready to present to us at our next meeting? I know it's early, but
In 2 weeks?
yeah.
I believe so.
How does the committee feel about that?
I think the sooner the better.
All right, next meeting, Brian, you're on.
I just want to make sure, what's the date?
23rd.
20 what?
27.
27th?
Oh, sorry.
I'll let you know if we run into any problems, but
We won't.
I don't think we will. No, you won't. We might.
All right.
Can
So-
I just ask one quick follow-up? At the last meeting, we talked about kind of a top sheet.
Yeah, Mark's been
Would that
working
be
on that.
kind of included in that, or do you think that would take longer?
I know Mark's working on that. I don't know if you want it as a top sheet.
If possible, I would appreciate if we could include it.
It says action. Is there anything we need to do about this?
You told us to present next meeting.
Yeah, you told me to have it in 2 weeks.
I know. Do you need us to vote that?
Please. No, you don't have to.
Okay.
I don't know. I know Nicole's here as our liaison. Is there any news on the town side about budget?
I have no news, no.
Okay. So.
You don't have any news on numbers, right?
No, just in regards to like, if departments had to have their numbers in already, or is there a deadline? Because I haven't heard anything. I'm just thinking.
Not heard an update on that.
Okay. So, I think we have
This
time.
I feel like is still early. Like, really. Okay. All right, 26-27 school year calendar.
So in your packet, you have the 26-27 school calendar. We did share it with the BEA, who asked for some things, and we gave them some things, and there's other things that we didn't do. But what I want to point out in this one is Labor Day is late. So first day of school is until September 2nd.
Holy
So
cannoli.
that is late.
We still finish.
What?
We still finish around the same time.
Don't comment on it.
I mean, June 25th is kind of late if we have 5 snow days.
But the last day this year is the 16th, isn't it? So it's the same.
With snow days?
Vacations. So vacation is shorter.
Oh.
They asked us to consider moving some PD days. Some we did, some we didn't. I'm only going to bring it up because they asked. If you want my opinion, you can ask. But they want to know if we can have a half day on December 23rd.
I am under the impression that we don't have enough minutes on learning for the high school to really add extra early releases or things like that. Like I seem to remember one year you having 3 2-hour delays, and that messed with time on learning.
So I would be concerned about time on learning with snow days. We've always had a full day on the 23rd. We have the 24th off. And then there was 1 year or something, we had the 23rd off because
Monday.
the way it fell.
It was a Monday.
It was a Monday and the holiday and stuff, so. I am not recommending the 23rd as a half day. But I said I would present.
Am I correct that that's gonna mess with our time on learning. Okay.
Which will mess with our snow days.
Oh,
Early
just
releases or.
Yeah. And that's true at the high school level, like if there was other half days for.
I'm concerned, with all levels, because there's some stuff in negotiations that haven't been settled yet.
I was gonna
That
figure out how to ask you about
Yeah,
that.
so I think my advice would be to leave it alone. But if you want me to do it, then it's fine.
All right, so before we start discussing, is there a motion from a member of the committee?
Motion to accept the proposed calendar.
Wait a second.
Seconded? All right, so now, any discussion we have?
Yes, I would like to say, Brian, my daughter would like to, I know ahead of time, she would like to thank you for, she won't be in school on her birthday.
I can, yes, tell her I knew that. I did a review of her attendance for many years, and she hasn't been here.
There's no school on my birthday either. Just saying.
You
Anything
won't
else?
be getting a letter.
So if there's changes to this, does that have to come through us?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor of this, say aye. Aye?
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. This is our school calendar right now. All right, head bookkeeper, TMS?
Yeah, so I just wanted to give you a heads up on this. Leslie Wallace, our payroll clerk, has accepted another job in another district. And we posted the position, and I had asked TMS, which is our business consultants, if they had someone on staff for payroll, just in case we couldn't find anybody, or if the individual couldn't start right away. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that I did talk to TMS. They do have someone that's has come in actually this week to provide some support.
Was that the name on our hire list?
Yes.
Okay.
Darcy is the new woman. She actually started Monday, so the stars are aligning. But the problem is Leslie leaves Friday. The following week is payroll. So I wanted to give Darcy the support needed to do a payroll in Belchertown. So, but I'm going to be honest that it's an additional cost that I'm going to have to pay for the 2 weeks.
I mean, I'd rather that than people not get paid.
Correct.
But TMS like typically does for us like part-time. Is she full-time with us?
Who's that?
There's two.
Darcy.
people.
No, Darcy is our employee. She's full-time. She doesn't work for TMS.
Okay.
There's another woman that's helping her for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, I got you.
And she's coming in every day
I
to help,
misunderstood.
to make sure that the payroll is up to date. This woman has experience in payroll. She's done this with other districts too. So I just wanted to hope that you'll support that. There was a chance that Darcy wasn't going to start until next week. So we would have had no one here, but things just kind of work, so she's here, but I
So
will.
we're only paying TMS for an additional 2 weeks.
Right now, yes, 2
As of
weeks.
right now. Okay.
And if it's longer, I'll let you know. But, I mean, she has experience with munis and payroll, and she's done it in another district. It's just, there are some things unique to Belchertown that she just has to learn and stuff like that.
And the goal of the 2 weeks is basically onboarding.
Yes, yeah.
Makes absolute sense. All right, are we good to move on?
Yep.
So signing of warrants, Ruby asked to put this on there because I think there's been some confusion. And since we've done DocuSign, it's very easy. Like I used to never be able to get there, and now with that. So I alone signed the payroll warrant, or with Brian, right? But there should be 3 of us signing the other warrant. And I believe it gets emailed to everyone. Is that a true statement? Does everybody get it? So I think when we originally reorganized, myself, Ruby, and Jake were the officers scheduled to sign it. And we said if one of us couldn't, then one of you would. But we do need to get 3 people to sign it.
I don't think it was me. That was not in my notes in the beginning.
Okay, is there, because
Should we look in it and see if there's 3 signatures and if
There
there's...
hasn't
The
been.
reason I asked was because I missed a week over the Christmas break. And so then I got an email saying, like, why haven't you been signing? I said, well, I have been, it's just I missed a week. But I thought, I was just wanted to get clarification on how many we need and who else can sign, because I think some of the weeks, like, only I can sign.
So just some background information, you always had 3 people sign, but during COVID, people went and changed the policy, and now we have to get back to the 3 people.
But I think for many weeks,
We had picked 3 people, and I know it was not.
but, I mean, I have been signing,
I don't
I missed
remember.
a week.
I think it might be you if the other 2 days
might
are
be.
not that.
This is why I asked for us to discuss it.
So does everybody get the email? That's gonna be the most
I think
important
I
thing.
get all of them.
Yeah, I think
I also
everybody.
get, like,
I don't
I get-
think, does everybody get the payroll email?
I get the payroll email as well.
Okay, so I'm the one who should be signing the payroll email, and that's the one that used to come from Leslie, and now will come from a Darcy, I presume.
And only you and I can sign it.
Oh, actually, it comes from Brian.
It does.
They both come from Brian.
Yes.
But that one has to be Brian and I. It's the payroll, and then the other one, I sign it and Ruby signs it, and we need a 3rd person to be signing.
Okay, I'll make sure I go in there. So.
Okay,
And
perfect,
this is
thank you
every-
so much.
Week.
Other week.
Every other week.
Every other week.
Yes.
It's opposite weeks of payroll.
Okay.
So this week.
So
will
I
try
tend to do it the second it comes,
to make sure that there's 3 signatures.
I do too, I just missed.
because if I miss something, if I don't do it the second it comes, then I don't remember. So, I mean, I almost always do the payroll one within the hour, so that won't be an issue.
And Darcy's going to be sending the others.
They all come from Brian. That's the way
Okay.
DocuSign
Same.
works.
Brian can review a DocuSign.
I'm just wondering if I can put on notifications. So I can,
Okay, perfect.
but he sends so much stuff.
But he
It
really
might- no, I think
doesn't. When
it
it
might
comes
be
from
from-
Heather, it's from Brian.
Don't worry, if you don't sign
Look,
it, I'll text
See
you.
how it says BV? It's like a different.
What?
It's a different from.
Yeah, I've seen it.
How much
So it
time,
should-
like,
should
from
be
when we
Brian
receive
Cameron,
it
it'll be
to
something different.
when it
I
is like
got it.
due?
Just for that one.
What, do you know what the time frame usually,
Thanks
it's
for
a day
pointing
or
out.
2.
Yes.
I usually,
And she does
I
it
feel
the
see
day
Monday
after.
mornings.
But I can get clarification on it.
No, it's fine, I was just curious, like, how much, because I think one of the emails, I like didn't get to it right away, and then by the time I got to it, it had like timed out.
Yeah, it's like 3 days later.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah, I understand, I understand.
that was the payroll.
And I'll double check, and I'll shoot you all an email of the time frame.
Maybe even when she sends out the email, just tell us.
Yeah.
How long we have. Perfect.
Around noon.
All right. Are we good to move on? Mika, you good with that?
Yep.
All right. Curriculum and instruction. Did you meet early December? This says you did.
So we had a meeting right.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what?
me right after. So we're good.
It doesn't matter. There's nothing on here, so we can't do any of these. Any questions from the media? All right, I hear none. So I'm going to make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, Part 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation with A, B, C, D, and E, as conducting said business in open session would have a detrimental effect on the school committee's bargaining or litigation position. Jake, do you consent?
Yes.
Mika?
Yes.
Amy? Ruby?
Yes.
And I'm yes. So we are in executive session at 7:04.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Thank you all so much.